everybody, it's Anna. Welcome to the Thursday card for this week's tarot story. So today we have the Five of Cups. The five is the midway point in the 10 card trajectory. So it's basically the point of conflict and challenge where you have to commit. You have to commit to the rest of the journey. Cups are connected to the heart and are about feeling emotionally connected to others as well as emotionally fulfilled and feeling grounded in your intuitive genius. So the image shows a man looking at a house sadly, as though he's been exiled from it. So the feeling of the card is heavy and mournful. And that is actually the challenge point of the cups. The heart is feeling heavy and painful. So the image shows, I always like to point out, there are three cups in front of him that are overturned. So that represents the loss, right? But behind the man are two upright cups. Basically saying if he can complete this journey, if he can meet this challenge and pass through it, he will discover there's more blessings waiting for him behind him on the rest of the journey. So the challenge of this card is both acknowledging where your loss is, like seeing it and understanding it and kind of coming to terms with it, as well as blessing it and releasing it. So you can turn your attention away from what has been lost from the past and toward what is now possible. And it's interesting to me, this comes up after two swords cards in a row. We have the 10 of swords reversed and the 7 of swords reversed, which are both about, I think, the mind coming to the end of its journey, getting ready to release, and then pausing for a moment, almost like it's getting stuck here right at the end. So this card makes a lot of sense if you consider the other two cards, because I feel like the mind might be getting stuck. The last piece of work might actually be letting go of an old wound or an old wound or story that is still troubling us. And actually, basically, are we ready? Before we can take on the next adventure, the next opportunity, we have to release ourselves from this old wound. It happens a lot, I think, at least in my experience, that as you're trucking along, following your inspiration, following your passion, whatever you're doing, manifesting what you're manifesting, you'll suddenly hit a really heavy feeling. And it doesn't seem to make sense. Like nothing's changed in your outward environment, but inwardly you've hit a spot where you can tell some work needs to be completed. And this card definitely feels like that. So the challenge here is sometimes we don't even see we don't really know what we're having an experience of. Like we're having this heaviness, but it doesn't make sense to us. And especially if we let our mind take charge, it'll say, well, that's just silly. Let's just move past it. Like I just said, nothing's changed. It can't be real. It's just in my mind. People say that all the time. It's just in my mind. If it's in your mind, it's real. But the other thing is we do have a natural tendency, especially our mind has one, to avoid heaviness and painfulness. Like we kind of avoid it, right? So the tendency is when this challenge comes up, we want to avoid it, talk it away, try to convince ourselves it isn't real. That will fail to meet the challenge. If you do that, you get kind of pushed backwards in your work, because the challenge really is to see it, to acknowledge it, to validate your own experience and to let it fully surface so that you can honor it and love it and help this part of you that is trapped in this feeling of sadness and mournfulness to help it release. You want all of you to continue on the journey. That's actually what happens as you continue expansion. Like you need more and more of your resource, more and more of yourself. So we reclaim these different pieces of ourselves that have gotten splintered off from these difficult experiences. And so now it's time to reclaim. There's a part of us that's caught in this moment of mourning. There's these two cups ready for us to claim it. And so the challenge is, are we willing to face what is harming us, what is hurting us, what is holding us back so that we can continue? And this may actually be the real release point for the mind. The 10 of swords reversed where the mind's holding off. This may be the real release point that the mind is waiting for the heart to do its work. That's today's card. See you tomorrow for our last one. Bye.